وقابلت المرشد العام للإخوان المسلمين وقعد وطلب مطالب. طلب إيه؟ أول حاجة قال لي يجب أن تقيم الحجاب في مصر وتخلي كل واحدة تمشي في الشارع تلبس طرحة. كل واحدة تمشي. وأنا قلت له يعني إذا الواحد قال هذا الكلام بيقولوا رجعنا لأيام الحاكم بأمر الله اللي كان بيخلي الناس ما يمشوش بالنهار ويمشوا بالليل. أنا في رأيي إن كل واحد في بيته هو اللي ينفذ هذا الكلام. فقال لي لا، أنت باعتبارك الحاكم مسؤول. قلت له يا أستاذ أنت ليك بنت في كلية الطب مش لابسة طرحة ولا حاجة، ما لبستهاش طرحة ليه؟ فكنت أنت إذا كنت أنت مش قادر تلبس بنت واحدة اللي هي بنتك طرحة، عايزنا ننزل ألبس 10 مليون طرح في البلد نفس.
नमस्ते, स्वागत है आपका इंडिया दिस वीक के नए एपिसोड में और मैं हूं आपकी को-होस्ट आमना अंसारी.
Hi, this is Khalid Beg and welcome to yet another episode of India This Week. This week we are joined by my co-host Amana, who will be a panelist with us on this issue. And we are also joined by Arshia Malik, known author, writer, blogger. She's already done a stellar episode with us, with Solia, on the banning of Jamaat-e-Islami and its repercussions. Welcome, Arshia.
Hello, Khalid. Namaste to everybody. Hi, Amana. Great to be here again. And I must compliment you. You're doing a fabulous thing. I remember getting excited for, India This Week, jab 80s, 90s mein hota tha, Pranay Roy ka, Friday, The World This Week. So for me, it's so exciting to see what have you got this week now. Great variety. I always look forward to it.
We are humbled. So this week we will be discussing the burqa issue, which has hit the coastal town of Karnataka called Udupi. So for the uninitiated, even though everybody now knows about this, we will just brief them about what happened. In December, in the coastal community sensitive town of Udupi in Karnataka, in a particular pre-university college, 6 to 8 girls donned the burqa and wanted to go into their class. Now, the administration said that they would not allow this. This goes against the uniform, the uniform which is there for the pre-university college. That turned into protests, and then the protest spread to 5 more colleges, and it was demanded that this is, according to the protesters, that this is their fundamental right. Now, in a protest to that, you had Hindu girls and boys don saffron scarves, and they said, there should be no religious concession given to the girls and to the girls who want to wear the burqa.
ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದಾರಲ್ವಾ, ಇವಾಗ ನಾವು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕೋ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹುಡುಗರು ನೋಡೋದು ಸರಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಯಾರು ಸರಿ ಇರಲ್ಲ? ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗಿರಲ್ವಾ? ನಮ್ಗೇನ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಬೇಡವಾ? ನಮ್ಗೇನ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಹಂಗಾರೆ ನಾವು ಹುಡುಗಿರಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು? ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಒಂದೇ ಅಂತ ತಾನೇ ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು. ಅವ್ರು ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕೋ ಬರೋದಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಸೀರೆ ಉಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ಹಣೆಗೆ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ, ಹೂ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತೀವಿ. ಕೊಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಸಮಾನ ತೀರ್ಪೆ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೊಂದು ಇವ್ರಿಗೊಂದು ಮಾಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡೋದು. ನಮ್ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ಸಮಾನ ತೀರ್ಪು ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕೋ ಬರ್ಲಿ, ನಾವು ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಕ್ಯಾಂಪಸ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಹಾಕೋ ಬರಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಸಮಾನತೆ ಆಗಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾವು ಅವ್ರು ಮುಸ್ಲಿಮು, ನಾವು ಹಿಂದೂ, ನಾವು ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ಸ್ಬಾರ್ದು. ನಾವು ಅನ್ಟಚಬಿಲಿಟಿ ತರ ಏನಾದ್ರು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ? ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಒಂದೇ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ತರನೇ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಸ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಹಿಜಾಬು ನಮ್ದು ಅದು ಇದು ಬೇರೆ ಅಂತ ಯಾಕೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕು? ಅವರು ನಮ್ ತರನೇ ಇರ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ? ಇದು ಹಂಗೆ ಮುಂದುವರೆದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ನಾವು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡೋದು.
That became even bigger, and the protests sadly have gone violent. You had some Muslim mobs who were pelting today, and we condemn that. We request them to maintain law and order. It's already a very communal sensitive town. You also saw small bunch of Dalit boys wearing the their blue colored scarves in solidarity with the Muslim women who wanted to wear the burqa. ironically, the greatest Dalit icon of India has ever produced, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji, was a critique of the burqa, and his writings clearly say that. Out of the many critiques, one of the critique that he gave was that it leads to social segregation between the two communities, and out of many reasons where they do not, their theologies don't allow them to, kind of get together. This is one of them, because this results only in one-way communication of the males from the Muslim community and the females from the Hindu community, and other factors too. Now, what we want to discuss, and I want to get Arshia first into this. Arshia, the thing is, there seems to be a sense of disproportionate paranoia being created against this. We know countries like Afghanistan, if you don't wear the burqa, you can literally be dead. You saw the CNN reporter had to cover her head. Countries like Iran, where you don't cover your head, you can get life imprisonment. And until King Salman came in Saudi Arabia, you had to wear the burqa. Now, contrary to that, in India, the burqa is allowed everywhere, the hijab is allowed everywhere. You want to wear it, you don't want to wear it. So do you think there is a lot of disproportionate outrage over this, and somewhere this is a privilege of having that freedom which is being abused, because a specific school, a pre-university college, is saying that they wouldn't allow it for the dress rules? In addition to that, do you think it's political, because the same rule was taken by Muslim society education, a big society, in Kerala, which has hundreds of colleges and schools, who got the same rule 2 years back, saying that they don't want the burqa on the campus, and it was taken to court by 2 students' parents, and they won the case. Do you think that there is a lot of political outrage associated with this, and things are just being blown out of proportion, and the young girls are being used as pawns, and there is no sense of proportion that this particular episode is getting?
See, Khalid, at the center of this whole controversy is the veil, the covering up, which people have to keep remembering. What is being told to done? It's the hijab or the niqab, or you may call it the burqa. Any which way, it's the covering up of the female. Now, you have to understand that even liberals, I've seen these arguments. I've seen arguments coming from the left. I've seen arguments everywhere. Even well-meaning, right-leaning people, they're also kind of hesitant, what to say. Is this a cultural thing? Is this a religious thing? Please understand the fact that, the covering up of the female, there are many Muslim feminist scholars who are interpreting the Quran, who are interpreting the Hadith, who are interpreting the Sirah, the Sunnah, in the feminist way now. And they have come to the conclusion that this whole covering up of thing, this was a male jurist theological thing from centuries. Starting from the Abbasid period, when the Hadith got compiled, this is patriarchy. This is a woman cannot be seen, cannot be heard. Silent, obedient women are the most pious people. This has come to us from right from the Abbasid period. And now that the reinterpretation is there, feminist reinterpretation is there, people have to realize that things are changing. If you see photographs of Kabul and Tehran, pre and post 70s, Kabul women wearing Western modern dress, Tehran, university women, I've seen lots and lots of photographs, and then see the photographs today. Or for that matter, our Kashmir, if you see it in the 80s, and my grandmothers, and I've seen pictures, my mother's going to college, my aunt's going to college, just the cultural dupatta, just covering this part of the hair. So, I mean, they were Muslim too. But this whole, this Salafi, I call it the petro-Islam that started coming to us post 79 in the late 80s, eventually in the 90s. It's all because of that. Now, what is happening is that after 9/11, the whole global scope, the whole global gaze turned towards Islam. People wanted to understand this theology, which made people ram planes into buildings. And luckily, it coincided with the advent of technology, of social media, of internet. So every verse, every text, every hadith, every seerah, everything could be scrutinized, turned over and dissected and analyzed. You couldn't stop even the non-Muslims from doing that. Everybody was doing that, right? So now, because of that, हमारे जो मेल jurist theologists हैं, जो eventually ulema हमारे male ही हैं, all that expertise coming from Al Cairo, Al Azhar University Cairo, that had to come up with some strategy, that had to come up with some sort of damage control. So what they did was, now they subverted it. That the women who couldn't be seen earlier, who had to cover up, who had to be in the khimar or the zilbab, which are Quranic terms, completely covered, even this. They decided that the Muslim identity had to be of a woman in a niqab, and she is resisting. She's a protester. She's this is her Muslim identity. She is against anti-Muslim bigotry or Muslim phobia, which is a reality, yes. But this was not the way to do it. This is not a symbol of liberation or empowerment, right? Now, as you said rightly, they are being used as pawns, definitely. There's a link to the campus front of India, which is, I think, a precursor to Simi, and Indian Mujahideen.
They have roots with the Simi. In fact, there was in a communist portal in Hindu that they wrote about it. So imagine.
Secondly, not just these girls who are being used as pawns, but secondly, even the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood kind of people, जो हमारे Salafis हैं, they have also kind of started this technique that the women are being discriminated against, that these girls are not being allowed to go for education and all that. India is a secular country. India's constitution says this. India's constitution, Article 15 in the Indian constitution says this, right? Now, this is something that people have to become aware of, because this is exactly what Islamists do. They use the country's freedom of speech laws, they use the country's secular laws to have their way. If you really read Article 15 of the Indian Constitution, it does say right to practice religion, but then it also says that there has to be a provision for health. There has to be a provision for public morality. There has to be a provision for public safety, right? And hence, the headscarf comes under those other provisions too. Secondly, educational institutions have been given the right to have their own religions as governing bodies. I have spent my entire life in schools, first in studying them, in various states. My dad used to be posted here and there, and then teaching in 4 different states. And I know for a fact that every school in India is very sensible, it takes the cultural sensibilities of all communities, into account. Hence, any school having a skirt as a dress code did not make it mandatory for Muslim girls. And if like my father didn't want my sister to wear a skirt in 10th standard in Amritsar, in DAV school, he just approached the authorities and they gave in. So she had those, slacks kind of thing. I see it in my school around here also, because among the Hindu families, some of them are not very comfortable with skirts. So ye flexibility hoti thi. Right? Again, even in missionary schools, if you see, if they are not very comfortable with the pants and everything, any, a family approaching that they want the kameez salwar, they would be okay with it. But then, you have to see again the history of it. As I said, my grandmothers, my mother, my aunts going to college with just the cultural dupatta covering it. Were they not Muslim enough? Do they not gain entry into paradise? Right? So what is this thing about suddenly getting into educational institutions जहाँ पे आप education के लिए जा रहे हैं, जहाँ पे एक दौर ऐसा आया है where the shuttlecock burqa was a relic of the past, right? The burqa, the niqab, everything was supposed to be very regressive. We had aunts, actually telling us कि तुम्हारी उस friend को क्या हो गया है, वो क्यों बुर्के में रहती है, right? And these are very progressive women. So what happened? This is what you need to understand. So I feel that in the education institutions, which education means bringing, that's my tweet also, bringing from darkness to light, actually going forward, not regressing back. This is what is happening basically. Yeah.
Thanks. Arshia, I'll just pick up from there, and Amna, I want to get your thoughts on this. She spoke about regressive practices, Amna, right? We see this weird thing. You see the Congress president again giving his support to this movement, which the protests that these girls are doing. But it is his own chief minister from your state, where you are from, Rajasthan, right, Ashok Gehlot, who says that Ghungat is a very regressive thing and we should get away with it in villages, and this is not the way. But in the same breath, the party president says Ghungat might be that. Of course, that has his blessings, but burqa is something that he will fight for. And we see this clash of civilizations, which gets only emboldened by such comments and people who hold such powerful positions. Because in leftist portals, we see they say, the Ghungat, the Mangal Sutra is all, they're objects of patriarchy and regressive. And the same leftist portals talk about, the burqa being a sign of liberation. So the two communities, hence, getting even more further away from each other. How do you see all this? And definitely, don't you see there's a political angle to this?
Yeah, I see it is nothing new. This is like right now culture और trend of India basically, ये पिछले 70 सालों से होता हुआ आ रहा है, जहाँ पे आप एक कम्युनिटी के ऊपर हर तरह के रिफॉर्म, हर तरह की एक्सपेक्टेशन एक ही कम्युनिटी के ऊपर डाल देते हो। लेकिन जो दूसरी कम्युनिटी है, अगर आप उसके बारे में कुछ बात भी करना चाहते हो तो आपको अब तो नया वर्ड आ गया है, इस्लामोफोबिया, राइट? तो आप उधर के इशू के बारे को टच ही नहीं करना चाहते हो। होता क्या है कि अगर एक कम्युनिटी रिफॉर्म हो रही है, इवॉल्व हो रही है, इट्स वेरी ऑब्वियस कि वहां से क्वेश्चंस आएंगे एंड कन्फ्लिक्ट देन स्टार्ट होंगे कि हम इतना चेंज हो रहे हैं, हमारे इतना रिफॉर्म हो रहा है, ये कम्युनिटी क्यों ऐसी है, क्या इनमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है? एंड चलो ये कम्युनिटी ऐसी है तो है, बट इनके डिमांड ये होते हैं कि जो पब्लिक प्लेसेस भी है या जो ऐसी जगह पर भी है जहाँ पे रूल सबको फॉलो करना चाहिए, वहां भी ये अपने जिसको ये फेथ बोले या जो भी जिस तरह से देख रहे हो, उसको चाहते हैं कि ये उस इंस्टीट्यूशंस के रूल के भी ऊपर आ जाए, यू नो, ये प्रिविलेज चाहते हैं। तो ये जब एक कम्युनिटी देखती है कि हम अपने आप को चेंज कर रहे हैं, हम रूल फॉलो कर रहे हैं, ये एक तो अपने आप को चेंज भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, देन बिना चेंज हुए उस सिस्टम को, उसको वो अपने पर्सनल फेथ की जगह पब्लिक में ला रहे हैं और उसको असर्ट कर रहे हैं, तो कन्फ्लिक्ट होगा ही होगा। एंड इसमें जो ये इकोसिस्टम है, इसमें दो लोगों के बारे में बोलूंगी मैं। एक तो जो मुस्लिम इलीट है, जो अपने आप को लिबरल जो भी दिखाता है, जो खुद बुर्का नहीं पहनेगा, जो खुद एक बहुत अच्छी लाइफ जिएगा, जिसके पास सच में चॉइस है, वो औरतें हैं जो अपना चॉइस प्रैक्टिस कर सकती हैं, वो मिल करके हिंदू इलीट जो है या जो भी लिबरल इकोसिस्टम है, उनके साथ बोलेंगे नॉर्मल मुस्लिम औरतों को कि तुम्हारा जो कंजर्वेटिव और रिग्रेसिव प्रैक्टिसेस है, ये फॉलो करना तुम्हारा राइट है और ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इशू है। इससे भी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है जो लोग नहीं नोटिस करते, वो बोलना चाहूंगी। आप मुझे ये बात बताइए कि हिजाब पहन करके स्कूल जाना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है या एक लड़की को लीगल इक्वल राइट मिलना बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, जहां पे कि ये इंश्योर किया जाए कि उसका हस्बैंड 3 और शादियां नहीं कर सकता, जहां ये इंश्योर किया जाए कि हलाला का प्रैक्टिस नहीं होगा, या इस तरह के जितने भी प्रैक्टिसेस हैं या इनइक्वालिटीज हैं मुस्लिम विमेन के साथ लीगली, उसे रिफॉर्म करना ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, या ये चीज बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि स्कूल में जाते वक्त उसको हिजाब नहीं पहनने दिया जा रहा, बुर्का नहीं पहनने दिया जा रहा? तो जो इश्यूज मुस्लिम विमेन के रियल में है, उसके लिए तो ये इकोसिस्टम कभी नहीं लड़ता है। इनफैक्ट उल्टा आप देखो कि जब ट्रिपल तलाक का क्रिमिनलाइजेशन हुआ था, तो ये इकोसिस्टम उल्टा बोल रहा था कि ये अटैक है मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी पे। किस तरह से अटैक था? मुस्लिम विमेन को राइट जब रियल में मिलता है तो वो उसको अटैक बोलते हैं, जब मुस्लिम विमेन के अंदर रिग्रेसिव प्रैक्टिसेस को ग्लोरीफाई करना हो या उसको सपोर्ट करना हो, उसको ये बोलते हैं कि ये है देखो रियल रेजिस्टेंस और ये है सिंबल ऑफ क्या कहते हैं, विमेन एम्पावर एंड ऑल। इस तरह से जो इन लोगों ने गड़बड़ कर रखी है और इस तरह से जो ये अपनी बिगेटरी इनकी है, जो मुस्लिम के लिए लोअर हिंदू कम्युनिटी की तरफ से तो वो आती है जो अर्शिया दी बोलती रहती है सॉफ्ट लोअर एक्सपेक्टेशन बिगेटरी, एंड जो मुस्लिम इलीट है वो अपना गेम बहुत अच्छे से प्ले करते हैं, बिकॉज उनका पर्सनल कभी नहीं उनको कुछ फेस करना है, ना तो उनको कभी किसी तरह का वायलेंस फेस करना होगा, ना वो रिग्रेसिव प्रैक्टिसेस को जो है उनके ऊपर इम्पोज किया जाएगा, क्योंकि वो इंडिया में रहते हैं, राइट? वो तो अपने लिबरल लाइफ जी सकते हैं, तो उनका कुछ नहीं जाना है। लेकिन अफसोस की बात है कि वो मुस्लिम बाकी कम्युनिटी को नहीं देखते हैं, उनका भला कैसे होगा वो बिल्कुल नहीं देखते। तो ये तो एक चीज है ही। दूसरा, जब मैं आज न्यूज चैनल पे थी तो जो उडुपी के प्रोफेसर थे, उनका वो आए थे, उन्होंने बोला कि 75 मुस्लिम बच्चे और हैं जिनके लिए कोई इशू नहीं है और वो क्लास में बैठ करके अभी पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं। आप देखिए वो 8 लड़कियों ने इसको इशू बना दिया। 75 बच्चे, मेजोरिटी ऑफ मुस्लिम को कोई इशू नहीं था, उन 8 लड़कियों ने प्रोटेस्ट किया, इसको इशू बनाया और अब ये हिंदू मुस्लिम इशू हो गया उन 8 लड़कियों के ऊपर। तो इसके पीछे ऑब्वियसली एंड देन मतलब ये मैं अपनी तरफ से बोल रही हूँ, देयर इज नथिंग, कुछ ऐसा सबूत नहीं है, बट मुझे क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं आता कि एक PIL लगाना, कोर्ट में जाना, भागा दौड़ी करना इतना इजी नहीं होता है। बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो मैं सोच के रह जाती हूँ कि काश इस पे कुछ कर सकती। एक FIR नहीं हो पाती है। इन स्कूल लड़कियों को इतना कहाँ से रिसोर्सेज मिल रहे हैं या कहाँ से कि ये कोर्ट जा रही हैं, इनको वकील मिल गए हैं, यू नो। एंड एक अभी जो वो लड़की है जिसने जब वो हैकल वाला दिखा रहे एपिसोड, उसको आकर के 5 लाख रुपए भी अवार्ड दिया है एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने। तो ये इसमें और ज्यादा आग डाल रहे हैं कि तुम लोग लड़ो तो हम तुम्हें और पैसे देंगे, एंड वेयर इट विल लीड टू अस इन द
इनफैक्ट आमना, जब आप कह रही है एज वी स्पीक राइट नाउ, 3 दिन के लिए कर्नाटका स्टेट ऑफ कर्नाटका हैज क्लोज डाउन ऑल द कॉलेजेस एंड स्कूल्स। इट्स रिडिकुलस। मतलब इतना टेंस्ड बन रहा है एक स्टेट, वो भी एक यू नो टाउन से जो ऑलरेडी कम्युनली सेंसिटिव है। तो और जो उनको बताया नहीं जा रहा है लड़कियों की द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी ऑफ दिस थिंग। मतलब स्विट्जरलैंड, इटली, फ्रांस, बल्गेरिया, बाकी मुल्कों में बैन है बुर्का, यू नो। तो इतना एक इजी चीज नहीं है ये। और काफी सारे मुस्लिम नेशंस में फुल बॉडी भी,
इवन मुस्लिम नेशंस, यस,
उनमें बैन है। श्रीलंका ने यू नो एक कैबिनेट प्रपोजल पास किया था। तो ऐसा नहीं है कि यू नो जो आपके अगेंस्ट जो बोल रहे हैं मुस्लिम सेक्शंस, जो कह रहे हैं यू नो इसके अगेंस्ट है लोगों का एप्रीहेंशन या हिंदूज, वो बिगेट्स है, यू नो। तो इन लड़कियों को क्या ही वो सब पता। तो आपने इकोसिस्टम की बात की, हम इकोसिस्टम के कुछ प्लेयर्स की ट्वीट्स की बात करते हैं। तो आर्शिया आपसे स्टार्ट करते हैं। श्रीनिवासन जैन जो एक नामी जानी चेहरे हैं एनडीटीवी के, उन्होंने बड़ा क्यूट तो नहीं, हम समझते हैं ये गेम्स, बड़ा स्लाई एक ट्वीट किया कि इजंट हिजाब पार्ट ऑफ स्कूल्स एंड कॉलेज यूनिफॉर्म्स ऑल ओवर इंडिया, व्हाट वुड बी योर रिस्पॉन्स टू हिम?
I had an instant reaction. I quote tweeted him and I said, please do not defend the indefensible. You know, it was never a part of our uniform. Like I said, I've spent my years in schools, you know, how could you do that? And this is a very responsible section of the media, you know, writing like that. It was never, I have quote tweet, I had an instant reaction. But then this is it, you know, this is it. I know they are well meaning. I understand the apprehensions that India is kind of sliding towards, you know, as they keep saying, Pakistan or something like that. And I know they also want to be in the good books, you know. I know some of them are Islamophiles, you know, they really love the religion. I know some of them want their followers. I know some of them are playing games, but I know some of them have their hearts in the right, place. But you are doing a disservice to so many people who have lost lives resisting it. We are not just talking about the hijab or the burqa or the chadar. We are talking about female genital mutilation, which happens in the Bora community in India. We are talking about honor killings, which doesn't just happen only in the Muslim community, it happens in the Hindu community as well. We are talking about these decades and centuries of Hindu activists trying to get the women out of the gungat as well, which, if we need to believe that the new scholarship which is coming up was a reaction to Islamist invaders. You know, that's what they say the gungat was a reaction to, if we want to read that. So this is what you're doing. And today I saw Shekhar Gupta also kind of trying the balancing act, but I guess the message of us, counter narrative people did reach him when he said that well-meaning people are, misunderstanding. This is supposed to be about modernity and liberalism. So these, we should not be supporting regressive practices. So that's it. Basically, you are saying the constitution has a right to practice religion, but the religion can't be regressive. Tomorrow, if you say, like the Dawoodi Bohra do say that ye hamare religion mein hai female genital mutilation, are you going to, support that also just because it's a religious practice? Isn't the aim of education to come out of certain, traditions and norms which used to be very outdated, right?
Amna, there was one tweet by Sabah Naqvi in which she said that hijab is my right and I shall wear it if I choose to. First, I would want to counter that and then you can come in with your statement. Who stopped anyone except for that school institute? Everybody wears it in India who wants to. Somebody who doesn't want to wear it, they don't wear it. So that's perfect freedom. You want to wear it, you don't want to wear it. What do you make of this tweet? Isn't this just too much of a scaremongering? Like, it's my right and I should wear it.
Just provocation, nothing else. Like, you are not allowed to. तो जो नहीं भी रखते हैं sympathy या जिनको नहीं भी लगता है कि हिजाब is a good choice, वो भी इस साइड आ जाए, because अभी तुम इस वजह से subjugate हो रहे हो, क्योंकि ट्राइबलिज्म भी एक फैक्टर होता है beyond the religion. You even don't like something about your own family, but when you feel like my family or something I am related to is getting attacked, then you start taking, instead of telling them कि you are wrong, you start just standing besides that. तो वही ये ट्वीट करने का मकसद होता है. एक चीज मैं इन लोगों को बोलना चाहूंगी. सबसे पहले तो ये लोग ऐसे बना रहे हैं जैसे इंडिया में लॉ आ गया है कि बुर्का और ये सब बैन हो गया है. नहीं आया है और ना आएगा. स्टेट इतने सालों से घूंघट के ऊपर काम कर रही है. क्योंकि मैं राजस्थान से हूँ, मुझे पता है राजस्थान में घूंघट है, बहुत ज्यादा है. इवन एक सर्वे आया था जिसमें बोला गया है कि राजस्थान के गांव में औरतें 98% तक पर्दा करती हैं इन सम फॉर्म, जो कि बहुत ज्यादा है. तो अब ये जब स्टेट ने वहां बैन नहीं किया है तो यहाँ, जबकि वो घूंघट पे काफी बात करते हैं, वो कैंपेन चलाते हैं, बुर्के को तो वो छूते भी नहीं है, विच आई फाइंड वेरी रॉन्ग. क्योंकि अगर आप कुछ काम कर रहे हैं हिंदू विमेन के राइट के लिए, तो मुस्लिम विमेन के लिए क्यों नहीं वो अप्लाई है. तो एक तो ये नैरेटिव बनाना कि जैसे बैन हो गया. दूसरा, एक बात बोलती हूँ मैं, ठीक है, विमेन कैन चूज फॉर देमसेल्फ. वो बैड चॉइस भी हो सकती है, वो गुड चॉइस भी हो सकती है, राइट. लेकिन वो बैड चॉइस है. अब मैं इसका एनालॉजी ये देना चाहती हूँ कि सिगरेट आपके हेल्थ के लिए अच्छा नहीं है, बट आपको चूज करना, आप चूज कर लीजिए. लेकिन जहां पे सिगरेट अलाउ नहीं है, आप वहां जाके ये नहीं चिल्ला सकते कि सिगरेट मेरा राइट है और मैं यहीं पे जो स्मोक फ्री जोन है वहीं पे स्मोक करना चाहती हूँ. That has nothing to do with your choice. You are allowed, but this is the place, और इंस्टीट्यूशन को पूरा राइट है अपना लॉ बनाने का. आप बोल रहे हो कि नहीं, इंस्टीट्यूशन को राइट नहीं है अगर मैं चाहती हूँ कि मुझे यहाँ पे सिगरेट पीना है तो. सो किस तरह से ये गेम खेला जा रहा है, ये इस ट्वीट से मालूम पड़ता है. सेकंड, सबा नकवी ने खुद ने तो लगाना नहीं है कभी बुर्का, और ये ना वो अपनी बच्चियों को लगवाएगी. लेकिन वो किसको बता रही है? देखिए, आपको क्या लगता है, क्या एक नॉर्मल इंडियन मुस्लिम के पास बहुत चॉइसेस हैं? शादी करते वक्त अपना पार्टनर चुनने की आजादी नहीं होती है, ये सच्चाई है हमारी. तो आप वहां पे एक फैमिली को मैसेज देने के बजाय कि पैट्रियार्की और अपनी औरतों को अंदर रखना बुरी चीज है, आप उनको फ्रीडम दीजिए, आप तो फैमिली और लड़की दोनों को मैसेज दे रहे हो कि नहीं नहीं, तुम ऐसे ही रहो, यही तुम्हें सूट करता है, राइट. कितना डिससर्विस कर रही है ये अपने फेलो मुस्लिम विमेन को. बिट्रेयल है ये वैसे ही बिट्रेयल है जैसे शाहबानू के टाइम पे हुआ था, और वही हम वापस से देख रहे हैं.
Khalid, also the fact that people need to remember and understand and commit to memory. Those 6 to 8 girls haven't been told not to cover on the streets or in their homes. They have not been told to give up the hijab. They've only been told that in this educational institute, there is a certain uniform dress code which they have to uphold, which includes headscarves. Till December, they had no problems. All these years, they have had no problems. Amina just now said that 75 other girls in the whole college have no problems at all, right? So this is what people need to understand. They haven't been told to give up the hijab, which Amina and me, women like me do advocate. But अगर आपने regressive choice करनी है, ये आपकी choice है. वो चाहे informed choice हो आपकी या conditioned choice हो, we have no issues with that. But there is a certain sacred place, a secular place, where you're coming and there is a certain code. You cannot, Islamize that place. You cannot do that.
Arshia, if you could give us a quick response to Arfa Khanum Sherwani, she's saying this is an apartheid for India's Muslims. वो तो मतलब हद ही कर दी उन्होंने. 25 करोड़ इंडियन मुस्लिम्स के लिए apartheid है. ये किस किस्म की fear mongering है?
I think she should look into herself first, tell the community to introspect themselves and see what they do to their own people, their own community. Anybody speaking out or criticizing is instantly ostracized and even killed for that matter. This is so, what can I say? So disappointing to see a person who has such a big platform, such a huge clout, such a influence, social media influencer. She could have done so much good to, जो मैं हमेशा कहती रहती हूँ, the unheard, जो marginalized है हमारे. कितने सारे हमारे हैं जो अभी भी अपने LGBT राइट्स के लिए लड़ रहे हैं, among Muslims. And इतने सारे हमारे हैं जो अभी भी, like Amina said, they still don't have a freedom to choose their life partners. I will go further and say there are Muslim women, and there are in millions in India, who still don't have a right to their own wages उनको वो वेजेस पकड़ा के अपने फैमिली में देने ही देने हैं, डिस्पाइट अ हदीथ एंड द शरिया एंड एवरीथिंग सेइंग शी हैज अ राइट टू हर ओन वेजेस, राइट? वो रेटोरिकली तो वो सब बोलते हैं कि हमारे में आजादी है एंड एवरीथिंग, बट एक्चुअली में वो प्रैक्टिस नहीं होता है. देयर आर स्टिल वुमेन गेटिंग ट्रिपल तलाक, despite the ruling and everything. There is so much in the community to be done. There is so much misogyny, and यही fact के जो इतने सारे हदीथ हैं, फातिमा मर्नसी has written about this, इतने सारे हैं, कॉमन औरतों के पास इतना टाइम नहीं वो जाके वो चेक करे ये हदीथ है कि नहीं. सडनली कोई उठ के बोलता है कि भाई कुरान में ये लिखा है, हदीथ में लिखा है. Arfa could have used her platform to dispel superstition, to dispel all of this disinformation, this misinformation. She knows it in her heart that the Muslim religion में जो male elite है, they are only doing this to control the women, because they are afraid of the female, whether it is female sexuality, whether it is female energy, whether it is the female wisdom, जो ancient times से every religion has feared, right? So this is a way to control them. Imagine telling these girls कि you better cover up. मुझे तो उन बेचारे लड़कों पे जो उस बैच के हैं उन पे सिंपैथी होती है, क्योंकि आप देखो ना, रातों रात उनको ये बोला जा रहा है कि आपकी जो घर में बहनें हैं, कजिन्स हैं, आंटियां हैं, आपकी अपनी माँ है, आपकी नानी है, दादी है, दे आर एक्चुअली डिस्ट्रैक्शंस फॉर द मेल. एंड इज ओनली द मेल सपोज टू अटेन स्पिरिचुअलिटी? औरतों में ऐसा नहीं है, राइट? कांट वी गेट टिटिलेटेड बाय अगर वही लॉजिक उन पे अप्लाई करें? So this is such a disservice to the males. This is हमारे लिए तो है ही है कि एक मेरा बाल दिख रहा है तो this person जिसका बहुत ही weak will है वो अपना ये control नहीं कर सकता है. This is such a blatant message.
Rana Ayub, Amana says that this is a violation of the fundamental right of Muslim women and denial of their agency. Anybody who doesn't agree with this, you can sit it out. What's your response?
I mean, 4 शादियां हो सकती हैं मुस्लिम में, राइट? यूनिलेटरल डिवोर्स हो सकता है, इनहेरिटेंस में इक्वल राइट नहीं मिलता है, एग्रीकल्चर लैंड में राइट ही नहीं मिलता है, जबकि शरिया में है, बट इन लोगों ने वहां से चुपचाप से निकाल दिया लड़कियों को, शरिया वाले लॉ भी नहीं दिए. डवरी मुस्लिम में प्रैक्टिस होती है. लड़कियां ज्यादा पैदा हो जाएं, अगर लड़के ना पैदा हो तो उनको डिवोर्स दे दिया जाता है. हलाला जैसी प्रैक्टिस है, FGM जैसी प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, राइट? इसके अलावा तो मैं मतलब काउंट करा सकती हूँ, बहुत लंबी लिस्ट है. लेकिन ये सब चीजें औरतों की एजेंसी नहीं छीनती हैं, ये चीजें औरतों को ऑप्रेस नहीं करती हैं, बट क्या करती है? वो ये करती है कि स्कूल के इंस्टीट्यूशन में उनके रूल फॉलो करने नहीं दिया जाए, राइट? तो अभी आप इसको क्या बोलेंगे? ये इनके पास अच्छे अच्छे वर्ड्स हैं, ये जर्नलिज्म में काम करते हैं, दे कैन ट्विस्ट इट, दे कैन मेक इट हाउ दे वांट इट टू साउंड, बट दे आर बेसिकली बिट्रेइंग Indian Muslim women and women of the world, I would say, basically. सेम राना अयूब ने, मुझे याद है, उनके टाइमलाइन पे एक आर्टिकल शेयर किया था जिसमें ये डिस्कस किया गया था कि अभी हिंदू बिल कोड में और क्या रिफॉर्म आएगा तब जाकर के हिंदू विमेन इक्वल स्टेटस के उनको मिलेगा. आई मीन इमेजिन द हिंदू बिल कोड जो इतना रिफॉर्म हो चुका है, वो लेडी बात कर रही है वहां पे कि कैसे वो और रिफॉर्म होगा तब जाके हिंदू विमेन इक्वल होंगी. बट आई हैव नेवर हर्ड, क्या जो औरत इस्लामोफोबिया पूरे वर्ल्ड में कितना है वो बात कर सकती है, ठीक है? वो ये बात नहीं कर सकती कि हिंदुस्तान में ऑल इंडिया मुस्लिम पर्सनल बोर्ड किस तरह से इंडियन मुस्लिम विमेन के राइट को स्नैच कर रहा है, किस तरह से इंडियन मुस्लिम विमेन को भी एक कोडिफाइड लॉ एंड जो इक्वालिटी उनकी इंश्योर करे उसकी ज़रूरत है. तो वो उस पर कभी बात नहीं करेंगी, और इस तरह के जो ट्वीट है उनको ट्विस्ट करके प्रोवोक करना एंड विक्टिमहुड नैरेटिव जो है वो डालना बेसिकली, क्योंकि विक्टिम जब तक बने रहेंगे तब तक उनका काम धंधा चलता रहेगा बेसिकली.
आमना, मेरा भी कंक्लूजन यही था कि ये आप इकोसिस्टम का जो बोल रहे हो, मैंने बहुत साल इसको समझने की कोशिश की कि व्हाई वुड अ वुमन डू इट, लेकिन फिर जैसे जैसे मुझे पता चला देयर इज एन एंटी इंडिया ग्लोबल नेटवर्क, जो मुस्लिम ब्रदरहुड के साथ जुड़ा है, एंड अमेरिकन मुस्लिम काउंसिल है, देयर आर सो मेनी ऑफ देम आउट देयर. And then I realized कि funding तो हो रही है, definitely some money is being passed. Otherwise, why would such a person get jobs in Washington Post and New York Times? Right. I remember Basharat Peer also going to New York Times. And then, it's very easy to spew anti-India venom. आपका इमीडिएटली करियर बन जाता है। इसमें जो जैसे हम लोग बात करते हैं, इसमें ना तो कोई पैसा है, आपको ज्यादातर गालियां ही खाने को मिलेंगी बिकॉज यू स्पीकिंग द ट्रुथ, एंड आपका कोई इकोसिस्टम में ऐसा कोई यू विल नॉट प्रॉस्पर। सो देयर इज ओनली वन कंक्लूजन आई हैव कि इट्स इजी टू बी एंटी इंडिया, स्पेशली एज यू सेड कि हम लोग इंडिया में रहते हैं, जैसे वो लड़की भी आज जानती थी कि उस पर अटैक होगा नहीं, शी विल बी प्रोटेक्टेड, तो इट्स नॉट अ वेरी बिग डील टू शाउट अल्लाह अकबर जस्ट बिकॉज यू नो कि यू विल बी प्रोटेक्टेड हियर। इफ देयर हैड बीन अ मॉब लाइक दे डिड इट विद फरकंदा, रिमेंबर इन अफगानिस्तान, काबुल में फरकंदा वाज lynched to death, मशाल खान was stoned to death in Pakistan, they wouldn't dare to do it there. सो आई थिंक वही अपने कहते हैं ना एयर कंडीशन कैबिन्स में ग्राउंड का हाल वो बताते हैं, एंड इट्स इजी टू से कि देयर इज Islamophobia going on.
You spoke about that it is a very highly paid job and you get a lot of perks and all the fame to be anti-India within India and portray that as sort of speaking truth to power and getting help by pan-nationalistic forces, ecosystems, publications to get you this glittering career. Also, it is a privilege, that you get, because you look at a Munawar Farooqi who mocks Hindu gods and goddesses, who mocks the Hindu victims of Godhra riots, becomes a star. Okay, and yet he's victimized. And here's you have a guy like Kishan who, these Arfaz and Sabaz don't even talk about, who just shares a meme which offends fanatics within our community and they kill him. And he has a 20-day-old daughter that he leaves back, right? Or even the fact when you look at Lavanya's case of, the forceful conversion, and no one talks about that. So nobody is talking about principles here, right? They're just segregating. Other thing I wanted to talk, tell both of you and to our viewers as well. Now look at the whole how this system builds up narratives. In the last 1 week, since they've built up this narrative of one small coastal town in India, one college, 5 colleges, pan Karnataka, pan India, right? And then the fear mongering and all the players get in. In the same week, you had an Arif Khan from Gulmarg, okay, who was the lone Winter Olympian representing India, who had the Indian flag.
That's a pride.
Still there on the biggest stage. You had a beautiful story of a 17-year-old Sheikh Rashid, young boy from Bihar, who came through a lot of poverty and was a part of India's World Cup winning squad. He scored a 50. God bless him, and may he get up to much bigger heights. And his whole story, if you read how the Bihar Cricket Association adopted him, itni garibi thi. So he's come through all that struggles. Kisi ne to usko nahi uska hak mara ya, didn't stop him. And then you have another Shah Rukh Khan, a new Shah Rukh Khan, who is basically, he got inducted into the Indian team, and now he's supposedly going to be one of the big buys in IPL. ये सब balance नहीं देते ये लोग इनके. ये भी balance नहीं देते कि whether in the public, in temples, in other places you want to wear burqa, hijab, you don't want to wear it, उस पे नहीं है. But एक institute को interpolate करके डरा देते हैं, victimize करते हैं, और कितना ही you can blame, the average citizens. But obviously we need to have a sense of accountability. So
Khalid, this is why they need to sit and think, why is it then the Hindus are reacting? Right? Why is it that they're demanding a Hindu Rashtra? Because they are actually, enabling it. I have over the years talked to so many right-wingers, center of right, left of right, whatever, all kinds of right-wingers. And I do listen. I have had, half of my life I've been listening to jihadis. Now I wanted to listen to the other side. And unka ek hi hota hai ki Muslim appeasement, Muslim appeasement ho rahi hai. They're getting away with it. So this Udupi incident is basically Muslim mob mobilization. Whether it is a mob, sophisticated mob in suits and, saris, or it's the typical, street mob. So they need to, sit and introspect and think, why aren't they pulling their own community out of it? Because this is a Hindu nation. Eventually somebody is going to stop caring. Eventually the majority will only start caring for its own people. They will start caring about their borders. They will start caring about the laws. Right? And आप तो already vote bank के हिसाब से negate हो ही गए हैं 2014 में, है ना? Your vote doesn't matter now. So what you need to do is look at ways to coexist. How do you coexist? The Hindu is not your enemy. Like the Jew was never your enemy. But you created this narrative, and now just for a jet-setting lifestyle, you're actually enabling, the Hindus to react to this. Because I believe the Hindutva thing is a reaction to the Islamist, जो भी इतने decades से हो रहा था. Enough is enough. Start coming to a middle ground. right? You can't get away with it all the time. You can't.
I would personally request, for people to maintain law and order there and call out, the extremists within your own community. If you expect the majority to call out for heckling that girl, we stand with you. They should have not done that, but there were extremists from your community pelting stones. So that is definitely a no-no. The law should come down hard on that. And this should not happen on such a small issue to, make it a pan-India issue. And please, for God's sake, nobody is banning any sort of attire in India. This is as big a lie as they told you in CA that your citizenship is going. It had nothing to do with your citizenship. It still does not. 25 crore of you, the legal ones, not the illegal, immigrants, have the legal ones don't need to fear. And similarly, not in this. Please try for reconciliation, try for honest, truthful dialogues. Don't get into reactions and don't be pawns for power brokers like, the Ranas of the world who will just enjoy and, have the best of both worlds. So on that note, we hope that the situation is under control, because the poor who dies in a riot and then his life or his family gets devastated. Please don't do this. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amna, and thank you so much, Arshia, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.